Good morning, everyone. So for the past 6 years, I've dedicated my life to a new wave of computing, one that will be unfettered from screens and that can coexist in the real world with us. I've been making some noise. I've been building communities through We Are Wearables and as a co-producer at AWE. I've been seeding capital as a partner at Superventures into this future. And today, I want to explain how augmented reality will devour the world in hopes to help you start thinking about how to prepare for this. So in August of 2011, the Wall Street Journal published a seminal post written by infamous VC Marc Andreesen entitled "Why Software Will Eat the World." This post was published 6 decades into the computer revolution, 4 decades after the invention of the microprocessor, 2 decades into the rise of the modern internet, and 3 years after the launch of the very first iPhone. And in this post, Marc Andreesen argued that software companies were a good investment decision that would realize big financial returns. But more importantly, he stressed his belief that software would usher in a bold and dramatic technological and economic shift where software companies were poised to take over large swaths of the economy. And of course, he was right. Software indeed has eaten the world. Our entire ways of living and playing and communicating with one another has changed because of software. Startups such as Slack and Skype and Shopify have changed the way that we work. Software companies like Airbnb and Uber have ushered in a sharing economy. And social media has become the fabric of who we are as humans today, so much so that it can influence something as large as an election. But as mighty as software is today, it is just the tip of the iceberg. Our current wave of computing is imprisoned behind screens that exist on our desk or that we hold in our hand. It's like a blind superbrain stuck in a jar that we carry around with us. And it has no ability to understand what's going on in the real world unless we feed it information. It also does not coexist with us in this real world, which means that if we want to derive any value from it, we need to put our real life on hold in order to engage with a digital moment. This next wave of computing will take the blindfold off this superbrain by giving it senses. It's going to give the computer its own senses, and it's going to give computer access to our own senses, and this is a game changer. When you give computer its own senses, it means that it can wean itself off its dependence on us to understand what's happening in the real world around it because it can gather information on its own. And when you give computers access to our own senses, it means that it can alter our perception, thus augmenting our reality. So augmented reality will unleash the full potential of computing, changing every aspect of our humanity, which means that it will not only enhance who we are, but completely reinvent how we engage and even perceive the world today. So that means whether you like it or not, your business and your daily life is going to be upheaved by this technology. But before I get into the potential impacts of augmented reality on us as humans, I wanted to first start talking about what this loaded term AR, or augmented reality, is all about. And if you recall, I just said that the big shift is actually giving computers senses. So when you give computers the ability to see, hear, and feel just like us, but better, it means that it can collect information on us, potentially using biometrically capable wearables like a smartwatch. And it can also collect information on the environment via IoT sensors and cameras. But just collecting information is not what this shift is all about. And that's where that superbrain comes in. Because the underlying technology for augmented reality is AI, or artificial intelligence, which means that a computer cannot just see, but it has vision, as in the case of computer vision. So a computer just doesn't see a face, it actually recognizes a face, as in facial recognition. And this contextual computing is necessary for the other component of augmented reality that's mostly talked about, which is the augmenting of the human experience. So when you give computers access to our own senses, it can actually make you see things that aren't there. It can make you hear things that aren't there. It can make you remember things that you've never experienced before. It alters how you perceive the world. And it can do this a number of ways through a number of different devices and platforms, including a device that you have in your hand, which is the smartphone. Mobile augmented reality is a big opportunity, and it's unlocked by advancements in hardware, such as the iPhone X's True Depth Sensor Kit, and especially updates to the operating system and new software development kits like Google's AR Core and Apple's AR Kit, and tools from the likes of Adobe, Unity, Verizon, Snap, Facebook, and so on. But mobile is just a stopgap. It's a powerful one, but it's a stopgap. Our future is wearable, and the tech sector is chomping at the bit to get a device strapped to your face, or a pair of smart glasses like HoloLens, Magic Leap, or Meta. And of course, it's because in this way, augmented reality is much more natural. It frees up your hands. It also means that your perception can be altered on a consistent basis. And it gives computers a camera that's always on, which means it can gather more information about the world around you. But this is not the only way that your sense of sight can be altered. Projection mapping, heads-up displays as your windshield of your car, as well as magic mirrors that are being very popular right now in shopping malls are all other alternatives. And we are not just our eyes, of course, and so computers will alter our sense of sound through augmented audio, as well as our sense of touch, leveraging solutions that use haptic feedback and other technologies to make us feel things within immersive experiences. But the holy grail of perception, of course, is our brain, and that will not go untouched, although it's a little bit ways out. Of course, brain chips or brain-computer interfaces, or BCI, are already being looked at by the likes of Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. Can I get my next slide up, if possible? So when it comes to wearable devices, the future is near, but it's not yet here. And so there's a couple of things that we need to tackle in order to get to that place: hardware, software, infrastructure, and culturally. And this is where a lot of the startup opportunities are today. A lot of the startup opportunities are in developing these building blocks that set the foundation for augmented reality, such as advancements in display, the continued digitization of senses, world-building tools, the 3D-fication of the world, or what's known as the AR cloud. So as all these startups start filling in these gaps, in the meantime, our networks will be upgraded to 5G, which is completely necessary for this next wave. Hopefully, some magical solutions of battery will pop up. But more importantly, culturally, we'll be acclimated to augmented reality at work, where there is a tremendous amount of activity with enterprise AR, as well as, again, with your smartphone, with successes that we will see where mobile apps will use AR as a feature. But how will augmented reality change everything? Well, let's start with work. Augmented reality has the ability to democratize skills, leveling the playing field so that everybody has access to skill-based jobs, provided they have access to the technology. So augmented reality can enable everyone to know everything by tapping into a universal mind. And Scope AR, which is a Canadian AR enterprise powerhouse, is a good example of this, where they can turn an amateur worker into a professional one with a click of a button. They're working with Boeing, Toyota, Lockheed Martin, and such, where using a pair of smart glasses or a mobile or tablet, you can provide a worker with step-by-step instructional overlays to perform a task. Or you can have that worker lend their eyes out to someone more experienced so that they can help them troubleshoot or also walk them through the task. And augmented reality will also enable everybody to be able to do everything but better, because it will give us superhuman abilities. Avena Medical has created a transdermal wearable imaging system that literally gives nurses X-ray vision to look through your skin to be able to pick out your veins. And Ford's exoskeleton system, which we're seeing here, offsets the weight and the load for workers that are working on the line in automobile manufacturing. Augmented reality will also break down the final barriers and walls that are constructed because of geography and physical space by bringing us together to be able to work all together despite where we are in our relative locations. And of course, this is the final evolution, you could say, of video conferencing and other digital tools that we use today. By allowing us to see our team that may be across the ocean in this physical space, it will unlock powerful collaborating opportunities. And we're already starting to see this with the likes of startups such as Mimsy's holoportation meeting suite. But it's not just for meetings that this technology is being used. Shopify has already demoed the use of AR and VR together to connect merchants to customers. And here, Silverchain is showing a concept that uses Microsoft HoloLens, which can connect an at-home nurse to a doctor to diagnose a patient, or to allow for a doctor to holoport into the patient's home in order to give that human touch for a consultation. So we're going to see him holoport in just a second, so I'm not going to flick because it's a little bit magical, and I like this moment. There you go. So education is also an area where we're going to see a lot of activity of disruption with augmented reality. And I see a time where we will see the death of knowledge-based learning and the rise of experience-based curriculums. We already have the world's information at our fingertips. When you bring it up to eye level, it's a game changer. There's no need to memorize facts, figures, and equations anymore, because with contextual computing and a pair of smart glasses, you can answer every question, you can perform every calculation, and you can identify and know all people, places, and things. So the opportunity is, instead of knowing, to experience things within the classroom. And this is an example from Google's AR expeditions, where you can actually play physically with a volcano instead of reading about it. Or you can actually go and visit locations instead of studying and reading about them if you've never been there, as in the case of HoloTour, which is an application for Microsoft HoloLens, which can allow you to visit Italy or France, for example. So with augmented reality, it will allow us to build the necessary muscle memory that will make us better contributing members of society when we get to that point, when we're old enough to have a job, because we're going to have hands-on skills in specific scenarios around problem solving, building, creating, and collaborating. And along those same lines, augmented reality may also usher in curriculums rooted in empathy. What better way to understand how Romeo or Juliet felt than to become those characters, or understand the struggles of past civilizations, than to be able to walk a mile in their shoes? Or in the case of medicine, using the FaceSim app developed for Sheffield Hallam University, bringing mannequins to life in order to improve the bedside manner or the empathy for patients for up-and-coming doctors. We are consumers, and that is a lot of who we are as people. Augmented reality's ability to manifest objects with code could spell the end of materialism as we know it, minimizing our importance on physical objects while maximizing and ushering in a brand new digital economy or a digital consumption. And so startups that are allowing for persistent filters to be overlaid on existing items or persistent objects to exist within a space are critical, like Solario, where you could have a laptop and swap it out to the latest model, or you can change the color of your wall, your lamps, put paintings on your wall, all with the click of a button, or whatever the interaction will be, because it won't be a button. And you don't need to go out to Bed Bath & Beyond to purchase new goods. And we're already seeing a tremendous amount of activity in this space with beauty and makeup and hair, including Modiface, which is a Canadian beauty AR giant that just recently got acquired by L'Oreal. With Modiface, right now, the purpose is to try before you buy makeup and hair in order to convert to physical sales, because smart glasses don't exist. But once smart glasses exist, why do you need to buy the physical product whatsoever? You don't need to apply anything. You just apply it via a filter as easily as we are with Snapchat. So in the future, we may just be buying the basics. We may all be wearing uniforms, white T-shirts, white jeans, I like white jeans, and rooms that are blank walls with just a couch and a table that we dress up and we personalize, leveraging digital filters or digital objects. At the same time as we may be minimizing our importance on materialism, we may be doubling our economy. And we're seeing this already with startups that are focused on augmented reality real estate, like Arcona and Infiniverse, where they are taking physical land and creating a single persistent digital double complete with augmented reality land registries, content distribution platforms, and marketplaces. So when it comes to identity, I see the death of fixed identity, where we no longer have to stay within the body that we're born, and see the rise of fluid identity, where we can change what the world sees of us or what the world perceives of us on a regular basis. We're already starting to see this with Snapchat and apps like Puppymoji, where we can become a kitty or a dog. And these are fleeting with mobile, but with smart glasses, they will be persistent. The rise of the digital avatar is very evident through Memoji, Animoji, Samsung's emojis. And so I see a time where we will be able to learn more about ourselves because we get to be another race or gender or age or another species completely. And it could potentially have a dramatic impact on physical world discrimination, uniting us as people. While at the same time, these same avatars could act as masks that we hide behind, inciting further trolling, as well as larger catfishing. And we could start to discriminate against each other based on the filters and lenses that we either have access or don't have access to. Also, we're moving into a world where you will always be identified through computer vision. So this can be very helpful with an authentication service that can facilitate easier shopping or travel or unlocking your phone. It can also help with finding criminals in a crowd, such as what's happening in China. And also, it can further advertising. How many times have you walked past a billboard or outdoor ad and never given it the time of day? Now, with computer vision, these ads will literally speak to you. They will know who you are. They will know your name. They will know your demographic. They will understand your engagement and emotion in order to make these ads better for you, better engaging for you, as well as to convert you as well. Finally, because I can only say so much in 20 minutes, I want to look at communication and the evolving role of communication as it relates to augmented reality, where augmented reality could break down the barriers of language, allowing us to talk to anyone in this real world, such as the use of an augmented reality app that translates sign language, even if you haven't learned it, or the use of Google Pixel Buds, which would allow for you to talk to someone in their native mother tongue without having to learn their language. But what's really exciting to me is this a possible rise of a new form of communication that may be much more efficient and effective than our current written and verbal one. What I'm seeing right now is the use of AR's killer app today, which is the democratization of special effects, to remix reality, take moments in our life and mash those up to act like a GIF, which is layers and layers and layers upon pop culture and emotion, which allows for that moment to be even more jam-packed with a message to the person that's receiving it. Or we could see the use of reactive clothing and haptic feedback and LEDs to allow for wearable devices to augment our emotions and make them external. Sensory from San Francisco has coined this term extimacy, making what's internal external by showing your emotions in a cowl of a neck, for example, in a sweater that changes color based on how you're feeling, something that we can't currently do as humans today. Or using haptic feedback to create a body Morse code where we can actually just literally feel a message instead of having to hear or read it. And memory, too, is changing because the way that we capture and access memories significantly evolve with augmented reality. We're already seeing the rise of life logging through spectacles, for example, by Snapchat, where you don't have to stop the moment to capture it. It's actually being captured on your behalf, which means that you're going to be able to analyze these moments and look back at your entire life. You can also pick up an object with augmented reality and understand its memory. You can see the memory of a location, if you wish. And 19 Crimes Wine, which is available now at SAQ and LCBO, is something you can play with and wow your crowd with an augmented reality app. Finally, there is going to be a time where we see augmented reality kill death. And that's because of virtual humans like those from Quantum Capture in Toronto. As long as you have a full-body digital scan and enough consciousness in the cloud, you can bring grandma back to life. Or with USA Holograms or Ventana, we've already seen how past legends have come back to the stage, like Michael Jackson and Elvis. So I'm out of time, but what I want you to understand is how grave of an impact augmented reality will have. This is not an incremental change. This is going to disrupt the world that we live in. It's going to disrupt your life and your business. So I urge you to start to play, at the very least, if you haven't, by going and learning in mobile, which is a very safe little playground right now, so we must enjoy this time. Because augmented reality will devour the world, and guess what? I can't wait to be eaten. Thanks so much.